All right, hello, my friends. This is Janet with PV&J Crafty Room, and I'm back with another craft to do with these beautiful pastel mauve paperomia papers. Beautiful papers. Any project you make with these is going to turn out great because the papers are so pretty. Okay, today we're going to make a card. This is just a simple little card. Real easy, anybody can do it. So what I've done is I've used a card about this big. I'll show you my cards. And I've made a gateway doorway. I don't really know what this is called other than it opens up. And here's a pocket, and I've put a bookmark in this pocket and got a pretty paper there, got a pretty pocket there. My bookmark, I could have poked a hole and put a ribbon in my bookmark, but I didn't. And then when you turn it over, now this is a bookmark that I've made in another video. You can go check out my other videos to see how I made this book. It's not a bookmark, it's a tag. That's what it is. It's a vintage tag. I will link the video to this tag in the description of this video. So I just had that in there because I made it with the same papers. And anyway, so here I've got this is a little card flip up thing, and I've just put some stamps and washi tape on it. And then I got a pocket here with some little things that I've made out of the same papers. Well, this one came off the same papers. She's got little corners of words and things on these papers. I just love these little ticket size things. And these just came out of my scraps. That I cut when I cut the big papers for this project. Okay, so that's what we're making today. Let's get started. So for my base, I found at the actual Goodwill, these are called, what are these called? Milestone cards. And it looks like, see, they've got a picture back here of everyone. It looks like these are brand new family puppy cards. Because see, on one side it says milestone cards. On the other side, this one says, today I made some friends. And this one says, I can sit, I'm so clever. and this one says, I went on my first car ride. It shows a doggy on a car ride. I've had my first bath. And, all first with the dog. Well, let's just pick this one. I went to the vet's. I didn't like it. And there's a dog sleeping or whatever. Okay, so anyway, you can use any card. Because these were oversized cards, and see, they're very thick. I thought, well, these would be good for something. So I actually just came home from a trip with my family, and my family is so great to me. They took me to Goodwill and just had a good time spending my money. But this is one of the things that my aunt found for me as a card. So this is what we're going to use. Any card will work. You can use any card. I'm sorry my workspace is so messy here. I just literally got done making some of these things. Okay, so this card is approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, just a skosh over 4 inches, maybe 4 1/8. And the length is, the length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3/4 approximately. But you could actually use a playing card. You could use any sort of a card. You could use card stock. Now, I like this because it's pretty thick. And how thick is this? It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It feels thick. It feels thicker than that, but it's only about 1/8 of an inch thick. So maybe, a handful of layers of cardstock or anything that you've got. It doesn't have to be this thick. I just like it because it's very sturdy, very sturdy. Okay, so what I did was, for my very first step, I had to cover the card with papers. So now with the pastel mauve kit, you pick out the papers, and I picked out one with a big old rose, and I stuck the rose right in the middle. So I have already got my papers cut here to save a whole bunch of time. And let's see, this is the one I cut for the back, and I know that because there's an extra flower there. This one has a butterfly on it. Now, I don't remember which page this is. There's 12 of these beautiful pages. So I'm just going to glue it right onto the card. So it doesn't really matter what the card says. This card is not real glossy and shiny, but you could, if you were worried about your paper sticking to it, like if you were using a glossy paper card, you could cover the paper card with chalk paint, or you could use a piece of sandpaper over it, rough it up a little bit. Now my paper here, that apparently I need to get some more glue because this glue is running out. I love this glue. I'll show you what kind of glue this is when I get done here with this paper. But now, what was I saying about the paper? I don't remember what I was saying, but so I'll say something different. You don't have to pay any attention to the design on the paper if you don't want to. These papers are so pretty. And I'm just rubbing this glue off here to the corners because I didn't really get as much glue out as I wanted. Oh, I know what I was going to say about my paper. I have cut my paper approximately 1/8 of an inch wider than my card all the way around. Now, I don't measure, specifically because I can't see that well to see the difference between 1/8 of an inch and 2/8 or 1/4 or whatever. I just made it a little bit bigger than the card. See how much bigger it is? It's just a little, just so that it hangs over, because I'm going to show you what we're going to do here to make it have such a great corner. Now what I did here, I'll use the back of this. I put another piece of paper, actually I don't, yeah I do, that's okay. I put another piece of paper over it, and if you have a bone folder, this is where you want to rub it with your bone folder. I don't. So I have a big stamp here that I'm going to use later in the project. I'm going to use the edge of the stamp, and I'm going to rub this as if it's a bone folder. I do have a bone folder coming in the mail, so in another, I don't know, a couple weeks, I guess, I'll probably be getting it in the mail. I think I just ordered it yesterday. Okay. I'm still learning how to glue so that I don't get bubbly edges with all of my glue. So I really like the bone folder thing. Now the real key is to make sure all of your edges are glued down super great. So if they aren't, then lift your paper. See, I can see the corner of my card here, so it's not glued very good right there. I'm going to put some more glue there. You got to make sure these edges are glued down really good, because we're going to sand these edges, and that's going to make it have, all the rest of the edges are down really good. That's going to make it, I just dumped everything out. But anyway, see how great these edges are? This is the card that this is the sample card that I made. The edges are great. There's no hangover, there's no extra, there's no... So I really like the sanding technique, and that's what we're going to do. But we're going to let this side dry, and we're going to glue the other side down. Now I also chose a big rose for this side, and I'm going to make sure and put this rose at the top of where I have this rose, because I'm going to put a pocket. We're going to put a pocket down at the bottom. We would like to not cover up that big old rose. These are beautiful pages to work with. Some of them have butterflies. Some of them have blocks of beautiful text that you can't read. You don't need to read it, but you can see that it kind of looks like a love letter that somebody's written. And so, you know, especially with it being mauve colored, and it depends on how full your printer is of ink, how close your printer is to being out of ink, how opaque or transparent, or how saturated your printer prints the colors. I printed some and they came out pink because my blue was running out, and they're very pretty. I'm certainly going to use them on something else. And also, if you have a program or on your computer, or if you have the capability in your printer to print your things at a certain percentage, less than 100%, you could make smaller tags and smaller cards and make your roses smaller. You can do a lot of things with these printables. These printables are great. You can tailor them and customize them to what your project is that you're doing. Now make sure, ooh, that one, see, I missed a whole corner there. Make sure all of your edges are glued down really good, because that's what we're going to be sanding on those edges. We want to make sure they're glued down really good. And that was just the first one I came to. Now I got to check all the other edges. Make sure they're glued down, even the corners. Don't let the other side fool you. Because see, I also cut this one a little bit big. Okay, so all of my edges are glued down. That's a good thing. I cannot find my sanding block. So what I've done, and I had a piece of sandpaper here. Hang on, let me get a piece of sandpaper out of my stash here. So I have some sandpaper. This is what I used on my card here, and I really like it. Now, I have a sand block from the Dollar Tree, but it's kind of coarse, the sandpaper is, and I can't find it. I would use it if I could find it, but I can't find it. So I went to Walmart at some point months ago and got some sandpaper, and this is fine sandpaper. It's P220. I don't know the brand, but it's very fine sandpaper. If you want super fine sandpaper, you can use a paper bag, because that is super, super, super fine sandpaper. That will not work for this project because it's not gritty or sandy enough. So any, you know, even a fingernail file will work. But I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use my stamp block, and I'm going to put my stamp block behind here, and I'm just going to hold it with my thumb, and we're going to start on the front edge. And no, your paper does not have to be totally dry. Just be kind of careful. I'm going to hold this at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to go up and down for my first sand. And I want to be careful. I want to push, but not push hard enough to bend my card. So what I'm doing is I'm sanding this paper so that it tears away. And it's actually going, I think I've got it glued down to the sides here, but it makes a beautiful, perfect edge. You want to go around the corners. You don't want to sand towards your card. You want to sand away and then lift it up and then sand away. Or you could sand up and down. Up and down is good. Don't sand towards your card, because your glue, your paper may come up from your glue, because I guess of the force of where the direction that you're pushing. Now, I didn't do this beforehand because, because I wanted you guys to see this. See, don't sand towards your card. That's what I just did, and my paper ruffled right there. And fortunately, I didn't do it enough to actually mess up the actual card that I'm sanding. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way around this, and I'm holding it at a 45-degree angle to actually sand off that card right there on the corner. Now, I mean, you don't want to sand the card, you want to sand the paper. And it is separating, but it's kind of glued because both sides are hanging over. It's kind of glued to the other paper. So before I tried, and it's very important now, I've tried doing this. I've tried ripping the paper while it's just a little bit separated, and it rips right into my project. So be very careful about ripping your paper. If it's not completely separated from your card, then sand it some more. Because the sanding will separate it. It's kind of like, oh, see? I wasn't paying attention. I was sanding into my card. Okay, we're going to fix that. We can fix that later. Anything can be fixed. I have discovered that I love the inking process. The ink takes care of a lot of edge boo-boos. And I make a lot of edge boo-boos. See, going up and down is fine. Be careful not to go towards your project. I make a lot of boo-boos, period, because I might be watching one section of my project, but I don't see the whole thing at once because of my vision issues. So I'm telling you, if I can do this, anybody can do it. See, the paper is coming off. You can rip a little bit. Oh, look at that. You can rip a little bit, but be careful not to rip a ton. Because when you rip a ton is when you... See, this is not separated, so I'm not going to rip that any farther. And just keep sanding. I know it's not as convenient. Here, see there? Now we have a sanding block. Not as convenient if it's not a actual sanding block, which is probably why fingernail files work so well. You don't really have to pay attention to the sandpaper. It kind of comes off like it's perforated. See, it just makes a great edge. Beautiful, beautiful. I love this technique. All right. That edge came off nice. Now, if you have paper that's hanging out and you don't know which side it's on for one reason or another, then just put your sanding block or your sandpaper straight this way and sand. And it'll show you. When the paper starts separating, it'll tell you where it is and which direction it's going, which way you need to sand. Always, always sand away from your project. You can sand up and down, but make sure it's up and down and not in towards project. Because if you sand it in, I'll show you here in a minute because I did that. I'll show you what happens. And like I said, it can be fixed, so don't fret about it too much. See here on this corner? See where it ripped into the design? That's because I was talking and just sanding away and I went in. I sanded in. And here I was sanding too much, not on the 45-degree angle. I was sanding too much on this edge. So we will do some heavy inking on those edges. And nobody will even know. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. We are done with the sandpaper. You can actually put it away now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to wipe this on on a paper towel somewhere here. Here, I have a paper towel because it's got all that powder from sanding on it. And I don't really want to wipe it with a wet. This is not wet because I don't want it getting wet. So before I do anything else, I'm now going to ink it because the rest of the stuff I'm going to be gluing on top of this. So I'm going to ink this. Now, a lot of people like inking with the aged inks, the brown inks. I don't have any of those, so I'm using my rainbow ink. And the neat thing I like about these is they come out. Now, I'm not sure, but I have been getting ink on my fingers underneath the ink pad. I don't know how, but so if you're going to do this, you're probably going to get ink on your fingers. Because I certainly have. So now see, I'm inking the edge. You almost can't tell. See right there? You almost can't tell that I ripped that. That whole edge was ripped. And I like to go straight across. And then we'll turn it over and do the other side. Now with this purple, this is purple. With this, I really am liking this ink on these pages. So I ink pretty heavy on these. And then I turn it over and do this side. And I like to focus on the corners. Do bigger inking in the corners. If you don't like the inking look, don't worry about it. You don't have to ink nothing. I would suggest, if you rip your paper, I would suggest maybe gluing another piece of paper over it, or taking some sort of marker that's approximately a color that looks like it goes with it, and just kind of cover it up a little bit so it doesn't look like it's ripped. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. To me, that looks a little bit aged and vintagey. See, I really like that. Now, I'm going to put this away because I don't want it to dry out, and it fits just right in there. And I always have a hard time getting this lid on, but I've discovered that if I get it over here and I drop it, then I don't end up rubbing it all over all of the ink pads, which I've done. Okay, so now let's start with the front. This is the one with the butterflies on it. So this is the one with the doorway. See, this is what we're going to make. We're going to make a doorway here. And we don't have to focus on anything but the doorway. Now, what I did with this one was I cut a piece to go over here because I actually was going to make a pocket. And then I thought, wait a minute, I could cut that right down the middle and make a little doorway and have pockets in there. So you just go to your papers, pick a design that you like, and that's what you work with. And that's what I've done. Only I haven't, let's see, what did I do here? I didn't find, what is this? I think this is a tag I made for the back. I didn't find two, maybe I just didn't print the right ones, but I didn't find two roses together that I liked, so I cut 2 pages. I cut 2 sections, but I've got it here somewhere. Well, some people, here, is this it? I don't think that's it. I've got a section that matches my roses. Well, if I can't find it, I guess we'll cut another one so that I can show you how to do that one. Okay, so, oh, here it is. This has got to be it. Because, see, I cut half of my rose off of there. That's not, this is a bookmark. I think this one is a bookmark. Well, look at there. That's probably it. This is my, see, one side is bigger than the other. And I don't think it matters. I know that this page does have a little bit of writing on it. I think that's the only thing that matters. If you've got writing on your page, it it's a little bit disturbing if the text is upside down. Okay, even if it's unreadable text, you can still tell if it's upside down or not. So this is my gateway right here, because I just used what I already had printed, and I don't have, flowers that meet like that, but they kind of do. So I had a printed piece, and I made it fit the front of the card, and then I just cut it in half, and that's all I did. And I want to round the outer edges. Now, if you don't like to round the corners, don't worry about rounding the corners. But I rounded the outer edges that were going to go to the outer side of the card. And I did not glue this down. I used washi tape. This is my washi tape. This is my collection of washi tape right now. Oh, and I just dropped the lid. Sorry about that. So I found in my collection of washi tape, now see, this one would work good. I wanted to use a design of washi tape that kind of went with my paper design. And I think I picked this one. Now I'm not sure which one I like better. Let me show you what I did over here. See, I taped it with washi tape, and it almost looks like it goes with the paper. So let's use the other one. Since I used that one with that one, although I like that one because it's thicker, we'll use this one. We'll try this one. So I'm still feeling a lot of that sanding. I should have wiped my area down. That's what I should have done. I got all that sand over here. Okay. Now, when you're cutting your paper for your pieces here, don't throw away any of your scraps. I don't know if you can see. My paper cutter is just off camera over here. So here's a lot of my paper scraps that I've cut. See, I've got my little scraps and things. These are what I'm cutting my tags from. My tags that are fitting in my pockets. Okay, so we want to glue down one side right approximately in the middle. Make sure your other side fits. So you want to fit them both down here on your, I think I lost one. And that's what happens with my vision issues. It was just right here. Now it ran away again. And if you can see it, point it out to me. Is this it? I think this is it. Do they fit together right there? Because they fit together. I don't think that's it. This one's rounded on both edges. That's a bookmark. Okay, so where's my other one? I'm sorry, I can't glue it if I can't find it. Here it is. Is this it? I think I tried this one before. That's not it. I had another rose. Oh, you guys are going to get so tired of watching me lose my things, or else watch me. Oh, or else watch me because you like laughing at me. That's good too. Laughing is good for the soul. And is this it? This is it. My washi tape was hiding it. Or maybe this is the one that I keep looking at and I'm not sure. Yep, this is it. Okay, so we're going to tape these down so he doesn't run away again. So you want to line these up with each other and make sure that while they're lined up, they are in the center of your card, whatever size your card is. You know, you want them to meet in the middle because it's going to be a doorway. You want them to be the same height, which makes it really easy if you are cutting one piece and then you just cut it in half. Now see, it's sticking over on this side. You got to scooch over there a little bit. Now you got to scooch over just on the top, just on the top. You're not square there. There you go. Okay. Now I'm going to blow real carefully because I got little pieces of paper everywhere, but I've also got a lot of sand here. So I'm just blowing on where I'm working. All right, there we go. Almost. See, and it might be easier if you cut it a little bit smaller than what I've cut it, because that would leave you more room for taping it down. But right now, all we need to do is focus on one side. Tape one side down. That's all we need to do. But we do need to get it positioned right so that we don't steal area from the other side. And they need to be level with each other, even with the card. I think we're good. It needs to go over just a little bit on the top there. Come back on the bottom. I think we're good right there. Right there, we're good. Now don't move. So I'm going to hold my hand here, and I'm going to try to find the edge of my washi tape. Now see, if I were smart, I would have found the edge of my washi tape before I started. Oh well, maybe I'll learn. So now when you washi tape this down, or you could actually glue it and fold it. I didn't want to mess with that because I want the whole piece of paper to fold. So it's going to fold at the point that the washi tape is holding it down. So the tape is only going to go on this edge, and it's not, see, I've rounded the corners. It's only going to go up to where it starts rounding. Okay, so I'm only concerned with this edge. Now that I've got it positioned, I can reposition the other edge when I get done. This is probably going to go all the way to the edge of the card. I didn't really want the tape hanging over the edge of the card. So I put it right to the edge of the card. And if it hangs over that rounded corner, I'll cut that off when I get done here. Oh, well. Now, if it shifts like that, you got to make sure that your card, your paper that you're taping down didn't shift. Mine didn't. Okay. Now, I want the washi tape down to the edge of the card. And then down here to the edge of the card. We don't want it hanging over the edge of the card, because then that messes with the edge of our card, which we so carefully sanded off. And then cut the edge of this. Now, you know, you probably could measure how wide this is, and then measure your washi tape and rip off a piece and then put it down. But nah, I didn't do that. So any style that works for you, any process that works for you. Now I did have a little bit, I did go over my edge here. I mean, over my edge of the rounded corner. And see, I don't really want to throw that away. So I didn't go all the way to the edge of the card, but it's okay because we're also going to washi tape it on the inside. That's going to give it that extra stability. Now if I open this up, see, I can feel sticky right there. So it's gone past the rounded edge of my washi tape. So I'm going to open it back up. Now this little teeny bit of tape you can throw away. I'm going to open it back up, and I'm going to pull that tape back from the corner, and I'm going to trim it just a little bit. That's enough to save for something. Now it looks like, now what I did was be very careful if you run your fingernail here, because this is washi tape is paper tape and it will rip real easy. But I ran my fingernail right against the edge of the card to push the washi tape down onto the actual card, just on the edge of the paper. Be very careful because the paper tape will rip really easy. So now I open it up. making sure that the other edge is taped down really good. And I'm going to do the very same thing on this side with the same tape. Now you could use a different tape. I like, you know, I kind of like uniformity in my chaos, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to do this, try to do this in a straight line, because this, you can actually see the card under the washi tape. I'm trying to get my finger on the edge here so that I can tape it down here on the edge. This part is a whole lot easier than the other part. I think the inside here is easier to do than the outside. Probably because I can see it through the tape. Okay, and do the same thing. Make sure your tape is pushed down all the way, and very gently, I take my fingernail and run it all the way onto the card on the edge of the paper. And I kind of like that. See the design of that washi tape? Okay, so now we'll get our other paper that has, here it is right here, patiently waiting for me. It did not run away this time. Okay, so I'm going to do the very same thing with this, but I want to make sure it's lined up with the other one. Make sure it's lined up. One of these days I will probably learn how to stop the video, finish the process, and turn the video back on. But when we do that, you guys can't see exactly what we're doing. And I think it makes it more challenging for the viewer, because then they've got to figure some stuff out on their own. If you get to watch us do it, then you get to see the bungles that we make, because they're very common to crafting. And that is hanging over the edge, so I've got to pull it back up very gently. I have ripped more paper pulling washi tape up because I don't have it straight. So just be careful. Now, the washi tape will pull up if you don't push it down really hard. Wait until you get it totally done the way you want it, and then you push it all down. You can tack it down, you know, if you just gently push on it, and then you try to get it all finished. I'm going to cut it here and make sure it's not hanging over the edge. And now I'm going to push it down real hard. And now if I try to pull it up, it will rip. So I'll find the edge of my paper and push down the washi tape on the edge of the paper with my fingernail, being very careful not to rip it. Now you pull it up, if you can get it up, and well, I guess I didn't push it down enough. Okay, because I knew that because I could feel sticky on this side, which means that the washi tape is coming up also. Okay, so now you just do the same thing on this side. Make sure not to go over that rounded edge if you've rounded it. Now, if you don't want to round your edges, don't worry about rounding your edges. You could go right to the edge because it's square, and you won't have any washi tape hanging over the edge of the rounded edge. Now, we're not done with the washi tape. I'm going to use that washi tape again for the back side. Okay, save that piece. Now push it down real good, and then I'm going to run my fingernail right around, down around the edge. And I don't have long, sharp fingernails, so they don't cut. They don't cut anything. So there we go. We have our gateway. See, we did it. And now it opens up to reveal that beautiful thing. Now, because these are blank, you could put pockets here, or you could put journaling paper here. What I did with mine was, see, I stamped them. If you've got stamps, you could do stamps. I stamped mine with that purple ink. And that's what we're going to do with this one. So, where's my sanding block that I used earlier? I used it on my heart stamp. So, did I ink these? I didn't even ink these. So see, it doesn't really matter if you ink this side because we've taped that down. So I'm going to stick that here. We're going to use that again later. Where's my ink pad? Here's my ink pad. I'm going to pull the lid off again and find that purple. You could use a different color. I like the look of the purple with these papers. I think it's very, very pretty. Okay, now, I think I've got washi tape sticking up there. I've got to trim that off. How did I miss that? Just a little bit of washi tape sticking up there in the corner. Okay. Okay, so now since I'm inking this, I'm inking right over the washi tape. Just inking like this, and I like to focus on the corners. Just ink all the way down. If you don't want to ink, don't worry about inking. Some people ink, some people don't ink. It's all a personal preference, and it just depends on the look that you like. If you don't like the look, then don't do it. It's just another step. Okay, so I did that one. Now I'm going to do this one. Do the front. Ink, 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 ink. Focusing on the corners because I don't know. I like the look of ink. I mean, I like the inked edges, and I am finding that I like the corners inked more than the edges, and that's just a personal preference. If you don't want them inked, then don't ink them, you know, because your project is for you, or if you're going to give it away to somebody else. Okay, so that's all I did with that, but I am going to use this on my stamp, which is right here. Put my scissors over here. So I'm going to dab this